All right, let's look at this past exam question. It's taken from 2018, paper 2, question 3. It says, the High Roads Company has a contract to maintain and improve 2,700 kilometers of highway. Each year, sections of the highway must be graded, resurfaced, or sealed. The remaining highway will not need maintenance that year. Let S of n be the state matrix that shows the highway maintenance schedule for the nth year after 2018. The maintenance schedule for 2018 is shown in matrix S of 0 below. So the first thing I'm going to do is say that this is 2018. And we can see what's happening in 2018. In 2018, we're having 700 kilometers graded. Then we're having 400 kilometers resurfaced. We're having 200 kilometers sealed. And 1,400 kilometers, nothing has happened to them. So you can see a bit of the cycle going on here. Obviously, in the process of maintaining and improving highways, you first have to grade it, what needs to be done. Then the first step is you have to resurface it, then you seal it, and then, you're done. So maybe next year you don't have to do anything to it, or maybe you have to grade it again the next year. And that's where we now have this transition matrix, which tells us what's happening each year. So the type of maintenance in sections of highways varies from year to year, as shown in the transition matrix T below. So this is showing us that, this year, if a piece of highway is graded, 20% of those will be graded next year. 10% graded this year will be resurfaced next year. 20% graded this year will be sealed next year. And 50% that are graded this year, nothing will happen to it. So that's kind of the life cycle of what's going on. And you could hopefully read off any one of these here and understand it. So if I was to pick one at random, this 0.8 is saying that for this year, if a highway is sealed, 80% of those next year, nothing will happen to it, which makes sense because if it's sealed, that's kind of the last step of the process. So if it's sealed this year, you would expect a lot of them, so in this case, 80% of them, to have nothing done to them the following year. Okay. On the length of highway that was graded in 2018, how many kilometers are expected to be resurfaced the following year? So of the length of highway that was graded in 2018, so graded in 2018, that's 700, how many kilometers are expected to be resurfaced the following year? So we're going from graded to resurfaced, that's 10%. So that means we have 700 times by 10, so 0.1, which is going to be 70. That is my answer. And if we look over here, we can see, if I look at my examiner's report, only 48% of people got that right. That's pretty bad. My answer is 70 kilometers. Remember, you don't have to put the units. Many students gave 390 as their answer, indicating they had not read the question fully. Some gave 10% or 0.1 rather than finding the length. So don't be one of those people. Okay, next one. We come down here. Show that the length of highway that is to be graded in 2019 is 460. By writing the appropriate numbers in the following boxes. So if we're looking here, we're looking at graded in 2019. So I'm looking at all of these values here. So that means I'm looking at 20% here. So graded this year, 20% of those that are graded this year will be graded next year. Resurfaced this year, that means 10% there. Then this one will be 0, and then this one will be 0.2. So that's all that's really happening there. You're just reading them across. That's how many that will show that the length of highway that is to be graded in 2019 is 460. That's all you have to do, read it off horizontally. If we look at our examiner's report, you can see that was, in fact, the answer. How did people get this wrong? Some students listed the numbers in column G rather than the row. So don't be one of those people. Okay. Next one. It says, the state matrix describing the highway maintenance schedule for the nth year after 2018 is given by this. Complete the state matrix S1 below the highway maintenance. So just find S1. So what you want to do here, and I've already typed these in, is you just want to type in your transition, your state matrix, so S of 0, because we know that S of 1 will be equal to transition times S of 0. And when we do that, we end up with this. And that means we're just going to chuck 390 there and 360 there. Next question. Actually, let's see how many people got that right. 80% of people got that right. Well done, people. 80%. That's pretty good. All right. Next, we come down here. High Roads are looking to plan for their 2022 contract. How many kilometers of highway are expected to need resurfacing in 2022? Now, this is where you don't want to make a mistake here. So let's just take this slow. We know that we're starting at 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. This is S of 0. This is S1. This is S2. This is S3. This is S4. If I want S of 4, I need to take my transition matrix, raise it to the 4th power, and then times it by the initial state matrix. So I'm taking this, and I'm raising it to the 4th power, which means I'm going to be left with 43.1.54, 388.41, 347.94, 1532.11. It was graded, resurfaced, sealed, nothing. And we now want resurfacing, which is that one right there. It's going to be 388. It's going to be 388 as my answer. And this question is actually, we've just made this question up. This isn't actually anywhere in the notes. So this isn't actually an exam question. We've just made this up just to see if you can do this. Like, this is just an important skill that we wanted to see that you're able to do. Okay, next one. I don't know why I'm recording this at like 8:30. I'm so tired. All right, but if you're away, you need to watch this video because I feel it's important. So this is the sacrifices I make, isn't it? Wow. All right, I'm getting delusional at this stage. This is the last one. And this is an exam question, this question right here, and it's really hard. Most people got it wrong, so stay with me. It says in 2020, 1,536 kilometers of highway is expected to require no maintenance. Of these kilometers, what percentage is expected to have had no maintenance in 2019? Okay, so it's saying in 2020, well, let's just kind of look at this. We've got 2020, we've got 2019, things are happening here. Let's just write out those two matrices, all right? 2019, 2020. So whenever you're reading the question, you're like, I don't know what's happening here. Just write them out. So I know that S of 1 is, if I come over here, S of 1 is 460, 390, 360, 1490. We actually found that in the previous question. And the only ones we care about here is no maintenance. I'm just going to write N there. Then we can figure out S of 2. To figure out S of 2, all we have to do is come here and raise this to the power of 2. S of 2 is 429, 383, 352, 1536. And we only care about this. Now, as you can see, all I've really done here is write out the things that I've been told. And now I've got a bit of a visual. I'm going to reread the question and see if we can make more sense of it. It says, in 2020, this many kilometers of road are expected to require no maintenance. This one right here is expected to require no maintenance. So that's how many. Cool. Of these kilometers, whenever you got a question that says of these, whatever, that means you're going to be dividing by whatever that number is, 1436. Of these kilometers, what percentage is expected to have had no maintenance in 2019? So in other words, of these ones here, how many of these are made up of people who, oh, it's not people, of these right here, of this 1,536, of this right here, how many of these kilometers had no maintenance in 2019? Now, a lot of people would say, well, 1,490, but that would be wrong. And the reason why that's wrong is because not all of those kilometers go into there. No. Not all of those kilometers go into there. This is saying how many of these kilometers were here the year before? Well, we know by going all the way up here that N to N is 0.5. 0.5. So that means 50% who had no maintenance this year will have no maintenance next year. So we want to take 50% of these. We want to take 50%. We want to go 0.5 times by 1490. That's what we want to do. And when we do that, we get 0.485, which is the same as 48.5%. But as I said before, the main error that people made here is when they came to do this. Whoa. They didn't do 0.5 times 1490 over 1536. Okay, what they did instead is they just put 1490 on top. And when you do that, it looks like your answer is like 97% instead. And sure enough, whoa, when we look at the examiner's report, that's exactly what we see. As you can see, this was done very poorly. Only 17% of people got this right. That's the answer. This question was not answered well, with most students giving 90%, which did not take into account the 0.5 change. Hopefully that made sense. It's a tricky question there. But yeah, hopefully that clears things up. All right. Bye-bye.